24. There is no evolution that can change the pressure of space. And, I think about my body, and how it is a master over that pressure. And, without any energy, I have mastered its diminishment as my age changes and I become more inactive. The change is how my age becomes imaginative, which I have discovered, but I cannot explain that process in any paper. And, the games are on the higher levels from where I drop. The cut is into today, and the floor is alone a plane, and it graduates into one chop, but 144 chops happen over 128 feet. This is no model of mine, and there is no base to which it joins, and the colors disappear when they blend into space. And, when it is not awesome, the three are odd, and the sculpture is destroyed. The wheels are not worked on, and a mirror is very far away. And, when the images have no rhythms, then I will push out the strings which connect to every edge of their kind. And, this will be of a positive joinery, and yet the proportions will be odd to the number of shapeless lengths. The projects themselves will be numberless, and the zigzags will have no directions, and my fingers will not be able to number every shapeless mass. The blurry horizontals will be overestimated, and I will try not to compose more horizontals because horizontals blur whenever I draw or sculpt some imitation. 25. The bloom will soon be Alfred Lord Tennyson, and Alice Walker, and Andre Malraux, and Andrew Marvell, and Anthony Trollope, and Arthur Miller, and Ben Jonson, and Bernard Malamud, and Bigger Thomas, and Brett Ashley, and the Brontes, and Caddy Compson, and Carson McMullers, and Cervantes, and Charles Baudelaire, and Charles Dickens, and Charlotte Bronte, and Chris Marlowe, and Clarissa Dalloway, and D.H. Lawrence, and contemporary poets, and Daniel Defoe, and Dante, and Doris Lessing, and E.M. Forrester, and Edith Wharton, and Edmund Spenser, and Edward Albee, and Elizabeth Bishop, and Elizabeth Bowen, and Emily Bronte, and Emily Dickinson, and Ernest Hemingway, and Eudora Welty, and Eugene O'Neill, and Ezra Pound, and F. Scott Fitzgerald, and Fanny Burney, and Flannery O'Connor, and Franz Kafka, and Frederick Douglass, and Fyodor Dostoevsky are in the stereotomic bulk, and my nature too is to create some time. What is subtracted from it cannot be described, but I can study my own time's final picture. And, as Raphael speeds infinitely fast, the dull colors are not rendered by any watercolors, and they relax a grid upon which the Brazos sits. 26. I blush and let myself be, and my hand erases the long captions. And, it was not a simulation, so I will not need any plaster of Paris to close myself up inside the plane within its own stereotomy. And I lay down straight where many cubes are spread out, and at the top of the bed there are marks which confuse me. And as I cannot have a way to construct without any materials, the chain reaction cannot happen with these bricks which are in one stack. And when the ghost is a mess, I am as careless in the elegance as it is, and the time will not shift for me nor for it, and the one stack before us will grow. There are many modules left behind, and they are colorfully marked. Depths do not constitute any combinations, and I have my independence with the relationship of myself to this difficult and chaotic system. I have neither yet set up a rhythm nor any combinations of similar elements, as I only relate for now to some lines. 27. The shapes thin out, and at the end is the direction which I avoid. The yellow is near the blue, and the line has been topped. There are many cubes right here, and the line cannot imply another line. Many shapes are here, yet there has been no pressure at the end. So life contracts itself not into a cycle, and I cannot perceive the infinite maturity of the cycle it should have been, for there are many little effects that affect me, and at the beginning begins my contraction that will lengthen itself without any pressure. And I will be upset if I go out all of the way to distance myself from the door as all of this happens. And, the perfection happens inwardly, which is different from being already in the infinite situation. And so no proof is set up, and I am free to let my feelings respond to what cannot be merely a ploy. 28. There will be no press release, and I will have to disassemble the file cabinet before reality becomes a puzzle. And there will be no tautology nor any paradox which can be avoided. The material will not be connected to any notches, and on the stucco there will be many focal points. And I will lose my sponsorship when I define the condition of my art project, and the grass will seem even more abstract than my negativity. And the project will be kept away from the trees, and that will be one of many requirements. There will be 4 lines more to indicate each of the quadruple notes. Other factors will be undefined, and the facilities at the site will be for the art project. And if there is support from my colleagues, or from an institution or from a town body, then I will make available the materials. Other sources of financial support will not ensure that the project will be successful until I realize that there is no place where I might begin the project, and that it should not be the sort where having any foundation applies. And when I am shown that I cannot decide whether to perform or not, then the kind donations to build will circle into my hands, and I will not need any more to work on the previous design. I will end and stay around to meditate, and still Blinkbits will not be constructed. It cannot be copied by any corporations, and I will be going public with my list of the music I made, and I will test the stucco before I sit back down. 29. I will send the letter back tomorrow to lose my one chance out of many that have built up. And I will stop sending letters when nobody is convinced. And when my weak opinions strengthen my need to win, then I will have more potential to think some growth will come afterwards. And I will be less productive in my teachings, and the broken layers of my poem will not be much criticized, and the difference will be of a type that is general for my communication by it. And so I will just teach, and I will stand out by making a scene to instruct in me, by the poem, how to contain a thickness that is only singly woven. And on the walls will not be hung any sailboat pictures. I will let them carry very little. And you will arrive with your discs, pebbles and steel, and the organization still will not be arranged like I like. To study just once the model is to take up what piece it has. And so we study it, and by our studies we disappear. 30. There is no more foam to hot wire, and the clamps are off of the plates which were upon the styrofoam. And it does not need to be on one side. Finally, I will not be able to cut the styrofoam with a knife, but its flatness will appear in many colors. The white and the blue shapes will become larger, and I will check over the zones that I am not certain I have duplicated. The arrangements will not yet be tested in stucco, and this type of form in particular that I will compose will have no limits. There will be 5 right here, and the lawn mower will be unnecessary. Louis Kahn will not be here, and the details for the rooms will reflect 6, 7 or 8 facades. And these ancient numbers over the glass exit will not be planned. The glass itself will not be for any door. And the exit through the architecture school will be in the front. I will get in my poem more of a merry kind. And the next 2 rooms will be masterful in architecture. And the next 3 rooms will be of a merry kind. 31. The note will have no function, and the restroom will be a walk-in bathroom. The walkway will not affect the composition of the exterior, and the steel will be washed. There will be more room for a piano, and I will carry my unbroken-in shoes to a room for storing clothes. There will also be a room for making messes, and there will be an event to do so. The night will wheel around across the exterior. And less than 3 events will happen there. The emotions will be given over to the general feelings which attend each event. And there will be time for the architecture to disintegrate. The cars will not be defined in any Webster's dictionary, but there will be a single element that organizes everything. The whole will be literary, and the effect itself will have such an artistic totality as to be timeless. Then the art will be of one Einstein might do, and place will succeed time. Time will be a timeless immaterial concept, and objects in the emptiness of time will be accepted within it absolutely. Time will put no box around my space. There will be merely limited forms, and they will be the full of their own absoluteness. 32. I just scratch my head when these interpretations are the same. And I open my eyes. The fruit grows on the trees, and a light bulb is outside the box. And I don't have to learn how to mess it up, for it is better seriously when it is seriously put back into my mind. Without any spoon or fork, I will rise up off of the ground to find that my mind has not been social as I would like with other minds because of what I saw. 33. And you as well cannot fly, and you do not wish to go for a ride with the others on the double-decker bus. So you too are not set up in the light to fly, and the air cannot be tasted, and the imagination cannot yet be given to the light of another world. And you cannot feel yourself spinning around, but you can feel that when you return from being outside, your return will be ignored in effect, even if you whimper like that bird in the backyard of your house. 34. Many times, this same purple color has taken me on, and many times, I have been able to fight for a moment with a horse nose to nose. Many times, I have been bewildered by not being able to change the world, as if one person alone could do just that. There were many candles, and somebody made a wish, and still there was no flight away, but there was sand in my clothes. And many times I have been nonchalant about my expressions of inanimate objects. 35. Many times, I have been completely solid, and, like the curtains, I would block out light. Neither lines nor curves had any meaning, and yet I lived here as if I was dead. Though knowing is everything, the trees have stayed the same inside and out, and yet the look of me has been different. Many times, I have been witness to the wonder of health and gained by it an honest woman. And many times, when she was in my eye, I would not write any words about her. What she was what I was not, and we would tiptoe across the warm floor. And youthful night could not stay so, and people were all around us when we had our monkey which we gave away. There was nothing pink in the room, and it smelled just like coffee. 36. Where there are no metaphors, there is no vision. The sun is colorless, and the circus is dark. The stars light no cities, nor does the moon. Nothing smooths into a pearl. And clouds have no birds upon their drifts. At night, the brightness is of water, but planets will not play among the murky waters of the day. In the summer, the leaves will get heavier. Then autumn will brown the largest of trees, and winter will wither to a pale fruit. And when the spring comes, the homes themselves will unfreeze and I myself will dim. The trees have died upon the grass, the rocks warm them up from the good earth, and the shrubbery will grow taller over those trees. 37. Cliffs darken, the theater glows. All of the shores cease moving as the lake rises. The dirt cannot mirror that which frames the youthful river of life. Infinity is no vain fruit or flower, and at this height a delicate and precious darkness is the fruit that the bitter dust would have whenever it must. The dirt is getting wetter in the whiteness of the snow. The cars, the metals, the ants, and mountain become weaker by desolation, and hills are normally the life of a jagged land. The waves and the canyon have cracked the code, becoming vast solutions for the Mother Earth, and those who live for them have become solemn. 38. There was never a hall, and the brightening shadows are sharpening across the solid bricks. There are no sides to the park, and no natural society is there to recreate. What once was the wind, now is nothing, and so no messages are in its motion. What once was a world is now an object which cannot flow like the clouds. Around them are no outlines, and the trees have sunken into the earth. Where a pyramid once stood is now a plateau, and there are no lines that can connect the stars to each other. And there is no heart which the earth could keep in time as hers. There is only one dimension to this construction, and I cannot state it, nor can I test the position of the universe in any poem. The symmetry has broken, and at what was once the center is a field under which no stars shine. What was once a healthy architecture is now a monument without a region, and to have no more architecture is what happened in Texas. And I cannot add A to S to make T. And because of that, there can be no text. To begin with, the earth is enough, and the asteroids did not coast here. And I keep doubting what has been taken from me. The metaphors are metaphors alone. And my full name has to be of the letters which my two hands can spell. And when there is no Hinduism, and no Buddhism, and no Judaism, and no Confucianism, and no Christianity, and no Islam, then the clouds will be no more, and what will be either invisible or absent will not show up to explain itself in one way alone. And the scientist will have no language to bring into perspective the impossible potential of what was once a film. And there will be no techniques nor ways to outline as by way of any template anymore, because there will be nothing left. 39. This hemisphere has no atmosphere. It has been unnecessary since 2001 to find purpose in the cities or in word play. There is no way to save any traditions that miseducate. To be without any tradition is to be without beauty. And I have no privacy. And the dwellings which I have ignored, and my play, and myself have leveled out. There is just one home but no block, nor is it made of building blocks, and Ernest Block is not here. 40. Right here is the Texan exhibition, and it is not a paradox that the whole of it has been preserved. And my plan has been to be estranged from people who bore me. This reality could have a numerical order, and my home is as solid as a mountain. Those numbers are loved by me which have let go of the universe and its business. If this is not Texas, and there is no exhibition, then I will shine out as I am, and my business will be to forget that place where I was once one with myself. The taxonomy is what I cannot figure out, and I have never done that before, which on this well-covered chalkboard could have been chronologically timeless to any other. But, still I have not neglected the project. The air is clear of any answers where the goodness of a friendly butterfly is all I need. And, the democracy is to be taken as literally as my friendship, and if that is impossible to do, then I will chalk it up to a foul weather. William James is the name, and its letters do not form into any word which is mysterious. 41. This grammar has no letters. There is no this to that, and I have been here all along doing nothing. And, nothing can be revealed because I have not been missing, and neither have I won over any numbers. I believe that I am claimless. One key locks up Mission San Jose. And, the garage and the windows seem as normal as any common day, and I have decided not to rhyme again since the symmetry has broken again. 206 personal assistants have yet to make a bedroom or upper balcony into what either should be. And, there no belly left to Billy. 42. If there is no one else but me who will bring into birth the beginning of a worldly creation, then what has been done must be forgotten in the unification of the something from before into the something which is right now. And, if this is the end, and it happens to be ending just once, then death has something to do with the doing away of that creation of the spacetime of the now. The anarchy of it all does not have to wait for any spacetime to be lost because the end cannot be explained. If the dynamic end result is of destruction, then objects will have no way to be seen. And, when the connections to them shatter, then spacetime will be destroyed, and that loss will be the answer. The ugly truth is that my speech has died, and after taking away what has been lost, and these lines of my heart have no chance to become the story they were meant to be, then the ugly truth will make it difficult to see you in decoration anymore. If I care about my foes enough, and if our differences between spacetimes can be forgotten in the destruction of things, then I will go no further with my disturbing of the waters and of the waves, and the future will be complete. 43. I searched the charities and the geometries, and the writings and the model makings, and the music and the love, and the topographies and the states, and the cultures and the nations, and the geographies and the territories, and I wish for them all to come on time as I make for them a model. My inexperience with films is wide, and these films are irresponsible ones. And, there is an inconsistency in the rule by which the gallery goes. I am distracted by the past and where it all went, and my inexperience of resurrection is a wide one. And, without candlelight my eyes will see past the islands, and they will see into the private common ideas of someone, and I will be interested in the water around me. I will be working diligently to give my word, and behind me will be my dust. 44. I may not be bound to any traditions, nor to the symmetries of any objects, and because I am idle, symmetries become irregular and imbalanced forms. There is a disorder to this one dimension of a line or a plane, and on the circumference there is no harmony of a well-balanced whole. What once was unity has been individual all along, and being separated from it is due to the fact of my being with many. And, the many have separated me from the simplicity of these parts, and the disturbances from many scenes. The multitude lacks the power to separate me from the countryside. And I separate corporations from products. It is confusion to be famous, to wonder how to be even more so. When Alabama cleans up Alabama, when Syria has a dimensionless construction in the arrangement of space-time, there will be little that any astronomy, or physics, or literature, or poetry, or philosophy, or history can do to make original any future for individuals. And, the math, and nature, and geology, and the arts will be localized in a timeless particle which has always been so. Love is a model for bringing in the imagination, and it has for children a land to see. And in the streets, we will judge what can be seen of it to bring out democracy from whatever once separated us. It always must be that many divide themselves from one who is now motionless. And for that person to move forward outdoors will be the most hyperbolical thing they can do. The pain has been bad that touches all directly. And, I am pay knew how two could become one. There will be a line above the grass, the reconstruction must be over all directions, and the whole silence that is disturbed in Ireland over time has been of Ireland by Dublin neglected. There is just one original disturbance, and that is the hunger to be loved. 45. Where nothing is solid, there can be no building. Here nothing is solid, and so the 10 stories, and 2 penthouses, and basements cannot be planned. There is one material which makes up the whole, and I sit in a broken rocking chair. If the rottenness can be left behind, the parts that shatter will continue to diminish. And the building will not be larger than a car. Morris M. has been idle, and Charles Eames put another page in his diary, but I cannot cut my life into pieces that can be measured by any yards. There is no beauty in the lack of proportions when they are dropped in the dust. And within the light, a dust is spread out. If we are victims of it, then there will be neither movies nor any entertainments in its fall. There will be no way to put a window anywhere in the light. The spreading out of the rays of light can only come at last if the stars are rejected. The commonplace will be dragged into serious, and the boredom will need to be destroyed. And space will be as unmovable as the dust, and the dust will be lost in its freedom taken literally. There will be no strategy to consider by any victim. And yet the lines will increase and become straighter. The concrete will be impressive, its impression will have a spatial power, and the ordinary impression of the architecture around will be sublimely rejected when that architecture separates from all. And then life itself will not have anybody to explain it. The clarity, harmony and integrity of the stars will be of death, whose own clarity will be here of a goodness. That formula will be even less powerful than the little love I have for a few stars. 46. These words cannot be presented to readers until the slow future can be answered by them. And their presentation has been left aside to let go of the determination that I took in everything that can help me return to the good of society. And, because of this, I understand that way will return me to life. Unconditionally, there happens to be value and use to think of what things possessions are. Time brings confidence out from nature, and nobody wishes to go against its whole. The photography must not be cinematographic as if time itself could have kaleidoscopic or useful dimensions.